Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. It's Symbaroum night. Get excited. We create atmospheric, actual play role-playing games here on the internet for you, all for you. And tonight is our dark fantasy campaign, our long-running campaign. Exciting times. Let's get some promo out of the way before we start bringing on players and doing recaps and things like that. If you check down below, you'll find a bunch of links. There's links to our Twitch and our YouTube. You're watching on this. Please do check out the other. All of our Twitch streams do end up on our YouTube, so there's a lot of content on there for you now. If you want to delve into that, there's links to our social media, to our Discord and our Patreon. Those will do the things you'd expect of them. If you're interested in any of them, why not give us a follow or a patronage or a join or whatever. Whatever those things do. I don't know. What do you want from me? We run, or usually run, 3 shows on a weekly basis, all of them starting at 8 o'clock in the evening GMT. Mondays is Shadows of Esterin. And I say that, and I suddenly realize I haven't talked to the Monday crew to find out if they're going straight into the next Shadows of Esterin arc, because I think their recent one finished this Monday just gone. So I'll double check that. Thanks for asking. Wednesdays is, of course, Symbaroum. On Thursdays is Cincinnati Chronicles, although this week and possibly next week as well, and probably not the week after that, but maybe, who knows, we are taking a short break from it as we're between story arcs there. But when we do return, either next week or the week after that, we will be playing Wraith the Oblivion as the 4th part of our anthology series installation. We also usually stream a one-shot on the first weekend of every month. This month we skipped it because we had issues with illness and kind of just being tired and other things. But we did 12 months in a row. That's pretty good, isn't it? 12 months of new systems in a row. Happy days. We will return to our one-shots on the first weekend of March. I think we're running on the 6th. And that's going to be Tales from the Loop, which will be myself and wonderful other people. Yes. Join us for that. Okay, let's start bringing on players. Let's start doing recaps, and let's start getting Symbaroomed up in this place. First off, let's bring on John. John plays Sir Aaron Dar, last scion of House Dar. Somewhat slightly naive and idealistic young nobleman and duelist. Hi, John. How are you tonight?
Hi, Matt. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Fantastic. Wonderful. Great.
Good.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about how the session started last week?
So it started with Alindra and Aaron standing over a wounded Templar that we just tried to rob before finding out he didn't have what we wanted. At which point we sort of decided it would be a good idea to leave. We brought in our accomplice, Stio, who was waiting right outside the window, and told him that it wasn't here. And he decided that screw it, he was going to steal the empty box that didn't have the thing we wanted in it. And in climbing through the window and stealing the empty box, he recognized the bandages that the Templar was wearing as being very distinctive of a very close by healer. Then he left with the box, and Alindra and Aaron made their exit and gestured for Antom to do likewise, and then legged it. And at some point found Askarai.
Yeah, Askarai was down below. That's pretty much it. With that in mind, did we skip a certain incident there? No, Mike's shaking his head. No, nothing happened with Antom.
I can remember if that was the week before.
It was definitely last week.
But also I figured it was so integral to the character that maybe Mike would want to do a flashback and discuss that.
I think he should tell us about it in detail. And he's the next up. So let's bring on Mike. Mike plays Antom Theurg of Prios, holy man, flailer. Believer in the one true faith of the sun god. How's Anton doing, Mike?
Great. He had a really nice sit down in a beer, the winged ladle, and then there was the signal to leave the winged ladle, and he went. And
nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Um,
I mean, I'm with you, honestly, Mike, because I'm slightly ashamed of that particular event because it's definitely the closest we've come to just beer and pretzels, Gonzo D&D gaming. John,
Hang
you don't have to put
on.
your hand up. It's fine.
This is not the first time that this has occurred. How come he gets an apology and I don't?
Because yours was in a more serious fashion, I think.
What?
Wasn't yours like mid-combat or something?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was
his was just a
mid-combat.
goblin messenger punching him in the ball sack. Like that's far more Gonzo, and yeah, it's not in the heat of battle, you know. Yeah, Mike.
so
You,
anyway, Anton then went to go and see an old medicine woman about his injured ball sack, and also about the injured Templar. So yeah, with Steo's guidance, who knew this person, we went to a nearby alley, and we did some investigation and sort of asked her politely about the Templar who was injured and what he was all about and his brothers were all about. And she told us that when she was treating that Templar, the brothers mentioned something about a nearby croft. Someone called, I want to say Alamar, but I don't think that's quite right.
it's Alamai,
Alamai.
Alamai. Yes, it's Alamai, isn't it? I think.
Alamai. Yeah, let's go with that.
Sounds right. Yeah, Alamai Sevio.
And also an icon or an artwork or something like that they were discussing amongst themselves. So we sort of took that information and plotted what we were going to do next.
Yeah, pretty much. And to find out what we were going to do next, let's bring on Stephen. Stephen plays Elindra, former Templar novice, turned sellsword, easily the kind of gold medal performer of extreme violence in the party so far. Stephen.
She's just turned out that way in play, hasn't she? So yeah, we got this tip off about Alamai Sevio, who was in a croft about 10 minutes out of the East Gate. The other Templars had already gone out there. We didn't think they had been carrying this artifact, whatever it was that we were looking for, with them, but it was our only lead. So we kind of all bundled out of the East Gate, went up the road for 10 minutes, and saw their horses hitched up outside this croft, and kind of, I think mostly just like squatted down in a copse of trees across the road and sort of staked the place out. I think we sat there for was it about an hour? Elindra was quite reluctant to go in because she knew that it was going to involve fighting Templars, which is apparently where she draws the line.
I think it was about an hour before something matters developed in some way.
Yeah, so we'd seen a couple of farmhands moving about, but not much else. And then I think decided to. Oh, that was it. The brothers left, didn't they? The brothers left and rode back to Thistlehold, and so we decided that was the time. Now there was just the one retired Templar in there on his own.
Time to do something about it.
That's right.
Yeah. And to detail that something, why don't we bring on Sam? Sam plays Askarai, the changeling scout and ranger. He of the cool cloak and cooler mask, and even cooler set of furiously destructive bow abilities, although not quite as destructive as we thought. We will get onto that just before we start. But in the meantime, Sam, what happened next?
So we came up with a plan that Askarai would sort of sneak around the back of the croft, and I think it was Antom and who else?
Steo.
Someone else.
Definitely Steo.
Antom and Steo. Oh yeah, I remember. Antom and Steo would go up to the front door and sort of try to distract Alamai and see if we could get this whatever it was we were trying to get out of this building. As Ascarai approached, he could see Alamai through the window, sort of looking at something on a table, but couldn't yet tell what it was. Anton and Steo knocked on the door and made a good effort of trying to keep Alamai occupied. Complimented his farm a little bit. But he was, for some strange reason, very much on edge, and basically very quickly went for a big magical axe that he had.
A sun axe, yeah.
And gave Steo a bit of a wound with it. And a fight broke out. The farmhands started running, ran to get some bows, I think. And Ascarai, while Steo and Anton and Alamai were fighting in the doorway, Ascarai snuck in through a window and managed to get a couple of good shots in that basically killed Alamai. And we ended up with not too much the worse for wear other than Steo.
Yeah, Steo a bit battered, but you successfully killed the old man in his retirement farmhouse.
Heroically killed the
heroically, absolutely. So to wrap us up, and I've picked Chris for this because Chris is more of a setting nerd than the rest of the players, so he had a bit more view of what the significance of this might be. But Chris is our final player of the evening, plays Steo, former infantryman and veteran of the wars against the Dark Lords. Now turned kind of sometimes city guard, sometimes sellsword, all the time grumbly curmudgeon. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
What did
Please
you
notice
find
my long
and
B.
run away with? He does have a long B. It's true, no matter what anyone says.
Okay, so we were hanging around, starting to and ah over the objects on the table. Seemingly everyone having forgotten that there were two more strapping young gentlemen, probably on their way straight back here, and with murder on their minds. So Steo kind of bundled everyone out of the place, and we kind of retreated to the edge of the forest where when we unwrapped the objects. And what we had were, I believe, 3 Symbaric iron plates, or Symbaric copper plates.
Copper, bronze, you're not sure which, but yeah.
Engraved with Symbaric literature, and 2 of them just seem to be decorative, I think. But the main one, oh goodness, this is an artifact. This contains the prophecy. If you read through the Symbaroum book, and I would recommend it, it's beautifully laid out, but there's lots of little flavor parts to it. And first and foremost, there is a whole page on these very plates recovered from the depths of Davakar, seemingly foretelling the arrival of the Ambrian people from over the mountains and the ascension of the young queen to reclaim all of the legendary objects of Symbaroum and all of its glory. So to find these was the rumor of this event of the prophecy is well known and well distorted by told 15 different ways in every pub. But to have the actual objects, I was a little bit starstruck, given this is a hypothetical situation. So now, Steo, I think, is well aware of what they are as well, and I suppose their noted value as objects rather than being like carved from raw gold or any particular. It's definitely the message that's important, not the medium.
Yeah, they're not inherently pricey items, but they are for sure hot property. So with that in mind, let's kick off. But before we quite get going, let's have a talk about rules. So turns out, and thank you to our watcher over on YouTube, Leopold. And normally I'm not particularly gracious about rules corrections because they kind of hit. I used to run a board games channel and had to read about 30 of them every week, and that's led me to a place of usually kind of like, yeah, I don't care. But thank you on this particular instance because it was a rule I was worried about. So Ascarai recently bought Marksman. Is it Marksman level 3?
Yes.
And basically, Marksman level 3 says you can fire shots and ignore armor. Hooray! Which is wonderful, of course, and especially when combined with the 2 attacks a turn he gets from rapid shot, I think it is. That's insanely good. And turns out it's so insanely good that it's wrong. So basically, each of those is an active ability to trigger. And so here's how it works. Basically, when you trigger an active ability and it gives you another action in that turn, you cannot use that action to trigger another active ability. So in other words, Askrai has to choose between either 2 shots a turn or 1 shot that ignores armor, which is still great and gives him a great tool set to work with. And as Sam said before this stream, it was good because it means I can stop thinking about retiring Askrai for being too powerful. So, yeah, that's good. So if you wonder why it doesn't work the same as last week, it's because we done goofed. So
the rules.
Yeah, learn the rules, noobs. So I think we'll pick up. Do we want to pick up where we left off on the outskirts of Davokar, near Thistlehold, with these tablets? Or I'm actually perfectly happy with you picking up entering the Sounds of Symbaroum. Like, I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't be able to navigate through Thistlehold with these things wrapped up with any hassle whatsoever.
So I made a roll to understand what they were, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think so. I've got a good idea. So these are very tightly bundled in the sheets, or in a sheet that we'd stolen from the house. But yeah, we can skip to the accursed salons.
I think I might suggest along the way, seeing as we have these things and we went to quite a lot of trouble to get them, whether we could go and find some parchment and a bit of charcoal and take some rubbings before we hand them over.
I was gonna say the same thing. At least write down what they say.
It would be very easy while going through, because the Sounds of Symbaroum they're actually at the north part of the city, but there's no reason why you can't go to some street stalls nearby and easily locate some parchment and some charcoal and make some rubbing copies of them.
It's what you do when you get mysterious tablets, isn't it? You take a rubbing.
Am I right in thinking, even though we suspect that these are tablets that contain this prophecy, we can't actually read them, so we don't know exactly what the prophecy is?
No, Anton failed his lawmaster role, so can't read them. But what was the rationale of me? I think it's just that you'd learned that this prophecy was recovered on a set of kind of copper bronze tablets, right? And that's basically it. So you've kind of put 2 and 2 together,
and that would explain why we've got pretty high level people wanting these back, because they're kind of politically important.
I mean, why would the Queen want a prophecy that says that she's going to take over Symbaroum?
Yeah, it's not like it's Cass's belly or anything. So with our illicit copy of the prophecies, I suppose it's good to have, but I suppose we should dive into the salons.
Sure. The 5 of you enter the Sounds of Symbaroum. I think it's probably like sort of early to mid-afternoon at this point. It's still quite kind of an overcast day with spitting rain above, and you enter the salons. It's quite full of individuals. That downstairs floor that's full of stalls and people offering wares and services, you pass through fairly quickly and up to that. The second floor, which is more like a large tavern area. Again, there's a whole bunch of people there, but none of them seem particularly concerned with you. No one's causing trouble today. No one's causing any kind of a fuss or a scene. Everyone's just kind of in their cups quite quietly. Can anyone remember what you were meant to do?
Room 3.
No, that was the winged ladle.
That was the winged ladle.
The captain's room.
Yeah,
it's the captain's room, isn't it?
Yeah, you ask after the captain's room. Is someone going to just go to the barkeep and ask that?
I will send out someone, because I'm carrying these things bundled up and I don't really want people to put 2 and 2 together.
I will go and ask politely.
Okay. You ask. The barkeep looks at you kind of like curiously with slightly narrowed eyes and just kind of indicates a door kind of round at the edge of the bar.
Thank you, sir. And I'll head over, indicating back for everyone to follow me.
Okay.
Let's go.
Wait, there's a door. Are we knocking? What are we doing?
Yeah, I guess we're knocking and pushing Steo to the front.
Wounded Steo. You can, Anton, go ahead and make a medicus roll for him, by the way, if you want.
I suppose.
We'll have had this on the way. You're not stood outside the captain's room, like, bandaging up or whatever.
Hold on, you're bleeding all over the tablets.
Yeah.
You just slot the tablets nicely into his shoulder. Good carrying.
Yeah, patch it up.
I don't
No,
make a
it is.
medicus
It is in the salons because it's like when your mother used to lick a tissue and kind of wipe your cheek off with it.
Sure.
So you missed that then, Anton. Yeah.
That's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. Okay. Anton knocks on the door then, and Steo, kind of sweating slightly and slightly pale with a large gaping wound in his shoulder. The door opens up quite quickly. Decamado is standing there. He kind of looks over the five of you with a raised eyebrow and indicates for you to kind of walk in. Can we have a picture of Decamado up, please, John, when you have a moment?
Yes.
He laconically kind of walks over. The room has a small fireplace with a chimney leading up, and he kind of strides over to a stool that he's been resting on. There's a little table next to him with kind of a couple of little books on them. He places another one on top with a bookmark in place and kind of pats it and sits down, picks up a tankard that he's been drinking from, and just kind of gazes at Steo and says, "Out of the crate, then?"
Yes, and out of the town as well.
Where?
The farm of a certain well-known. But I just forgotten all my nouns. What was his name?
Alamai.
Alamai's house.
Alamai, yeah. Alamai Salvio.
Yeah.
And how is his health?
Has never been worse, unfortunately. He would not give them over.
Such is life. Place them down here by the fireplace, please.
I won't unravel them. I will leave them bundled up. But I will place them down.
He looks up and across at everyone and says, "Is there any concern that you were identified or made known to be seeking these?"
We are not a stealth unit. We did our best, and we hope no one will be able to connect the events, but we were certainly seen at the various locations tracking these down.
Oh, seen, of course, but not identified by name.
Not that I'm aware of.
Good. Good. As I say, this is important, secretive business. Breathe not a word. We are understood.
Indeed.
Very well. The storage you are looking for is at the center of a block between Inadar's Road and Abyssina's Alley. It's the only storage warehouse in the area. The front door requires no key. There is a storage on some storage in the interior allocated to the key. Just try them all. You'll find it.
Thank you. We trust there will be no trouble with us investigating this matter.
My dear Sergeant Steo, I couldn't care in the slightest.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask, will our will our names be passed on as those who have carried out an important task? Or is this quiet from everyone?
If you wished your name to be circulated among those willing to carry out more jobs such as this, and assuming that, as you say, you have done it quietly and competently, then there may be scope for more work and eventual recognition.
I merely wondered whether the name Dar might be spoken in some important places in future.
I'll pass it on that maybe that can be kept under consideration, Sadar.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to
Start
turn
walking
to
out.
leave.
Yep, leave him.
Okay. You head out. And I can tell you that the location he's told you. Can we grab the town map up, please, John? It's been a while since we had the town map.
Yeah, let me just...
John can locate it.
So did anybody else catch that address? Because he was super quick with the proper nouns when he spoke.
Fortunately, the GM is perfectly happy to just tell you where it is. So if you look to the northwest on this on the town map, you see where number 20 is, which is I think like the fighting pit. It's called the Abomitorium or something like that.
Yep.
You see where that number 20 fighting pit is. Just above that, there is a conflux of roads that looks like the letter Y. At the very intersection of that is the location he was describing to you. So, not far from where you are now.
Okay, let's we head there. I will say,
Back
as we're
streets.
walking, those Templars will very likely figure out who we were.
We don't exactly
Almost.
have a low profile in this town.
Let's just cut through the back streets if that's okay with everyone.
Agreed.
Sure. So you make your way through the back streets to the area that Captain Decamado described to you, and you find yourself at the center of the block between Inadar's Road and Abyssina's Alley. It is like a number of places in the city that probably most of you are familiar with, especially Steo. It is, just a small storage warehouse where people would typically rent a room to put their belongings or occasionally dwell for a relatively low amount of money.
Just go in, trying to not stay on the street for too long.
Absolutely. You enter into the building. As Decamado said, the main door is open. And inside you find a larger warehouse divided into multiple sections. Most of the building is occupied by crafting material and finished but not yet sold products of various artisans that seem to be stored behind robust iron-framed wooden doors. There are a number of them. A number of these, however, you can see into a number of them because they're barred doors or they have little portals to look through. But towards the back, as you go around, presumably trying your key in every door, you find a number of locked doors that seem more sturdy and have no portals or bars for which you can look through. So I did just assume that, but I'm assuming we are just trying every door.
Are there any kind of labels or numbers on the door or the keys? Or
there are numbers on the more secure-looking doors. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a number?
Is the place empty? I suppose is my key.
Yeah, there's no one else in here.
Yeah, we can. Okay to try everything, unless there's a literal number on the key, but I'm sure we would have spotted that by now.
There is no number on the key. No. Or if there is, I have forgotten it. But it doesn't matter. So you try all the doors, and on the fourth door you try, and the number 4, there is a click, and the door creaks open. Ascarai, can you give me a test against cunning, please?
Okay. I need. Where's my cunning? Need a 10 or less. I got a 7, so I make it.
Okay, so everyone perceives a rather foul stench coming out from this this creaking open doorway. Ascarai, it is the powerful scent of animal urine.
There have been animals in here. I don't know how.
It is quite dark on the interior, but there are lit lanterns hanging on brackets on the corridor outside the room.
I'm gonna take a lantern and sort of. How big do I think these storage places will be? Like, what's the space between the doors and things?
It's not big at all. It looks like it's maybe about, I don't know, 10 foot by 10 foot.
Okay. I'm gonna take a torch and sort of see if I can light it up a little bit.
Sure, you absolutely do so. So inside is a windowless chamber. As I say, the first thing you noticed is the stench, a vigorous prickling odor that makes your eyes water. The space feels cramped, even though there's not really much in there. There's a simple mattress on the floor to the right, a rickety shelf containing what look like 2 books, some old clothes, and maybe some used field gear. And there's a couple of dry rye bread loaves on another shelf opposite the door. Along one wall is what you first take to be a kind of provisional writing desk. It's a crate with an oil lantern, writing utensils, some sheets of paper, and something looking like a clerk's notebook. However, as soon as you kind of like pan your lantern across that area, I would like everyone to make a vigilant roll, please. And also explain to me why the lighting on me makes me look like I have a horribly swollen cheek on one side. Which I don't. It's fine. It's fine. I think.
I failed in my vigilant roll for your cheek and also in a vigilant roll for this.
I passed the vigilant roll. I don't know about your cheek.
You don't know about the cheek. Okay.
Yeah, fine. I'm the same.
Same. Okay. Well, anyone who passed the vigilant test, as the lantern passes across, you hear a scraping or scratching sound and a low noise resembling a child's whimper.
Is there something in the chest? I'm going to move forward and just like knock on the chest.
Sure. So this crate that has kind of served as a writing desk, as you get close, you see that it's more kind of basically like layers of thick plaids inside and around what seems to be actually like more like a crated iron cage. As you get closer, you can see slightly through gaps in there something of a not tiny but not large size is moving around in there, softly whimpering. The smell here is overpowering.
There's something in here.
Is it possible to? Is there an angle at which we can get sort of a closer look at the nature of this thing?
Not really, but you could try and remove some of the plats from the outside of the box with very little trouble, really.
Yeah, I'll move some things and try and get a better view.
Okay. Inside is what looks to be a quite young and very malnourished, matted, and generally sorry-looking meerkat. I think various people here have encountered meerkats before. For anyone who's watching who hasn't, and I think Stephen hasn't encountered one yet either, they're basically, they're not hairless, but their hair is so like slick against their body, they almost look like such. And they grow to like kind of between, sort of like, some of them are kind of lynx sized, some of them are more kind of like panther or cougar sized. They're generally in the wild. They can be quite dangerous if they decide you're food. But certainly not the most dangerous thing under Davakar's boughs. But this one is whimpering, and kind of you can see its ribs along its side. Its fur is knotted, and kind of there's several wounds on it that's presumably given from gnawing at itself out of stress. As I say, it looks malnourished, dehydrated, and extremely sorry for itself. And it's pissed everywhere, in case that didn't come home from the smell.
Why would Anadea keep this?
A pet.
It looks like she was. Oh God, the poor thing. Do we have anything we can give the poor creature?
I'm sure some of you will have some food on you.
What do they eat?
I think they're. Ascarai, you know the forest better than me.
Well, give us a cunning roll for your beast lore, Ascarai.
I think Astra would assume they eat meat since
Oh yeah, they certainly eat meat, because some of them have tried to eat you.
Yeah, I rolled a 3, so that definitely makes my beast.
They are mildly omnivorous. Like, they'll eat, if in a bind, and this one definitely is. They'll pretty much try to eat anything, but meat is their ideal food, certainly. And
See
also,
if I can
mean,
get
specifically, the thing this thing needs more than anything is water.
Yeah, I will try and. I guess it might be hard to give it water through the cage, but I will try to from a flask.
There is an empty bowl on the bottom of the cage, and while it is full of bits of fur and maybe some fouler liquids, you almost certainly have a water flask on you. I'm happy for you to kind of like drag it out. It doesn't appear to be it doesn't go for you in any way. It's kind of retreated against the far corner of the crate and is kind of just trying to keep away from you. And you can definitely kind of wash it out and then put it back in and pour some water from your flask. The meerkat kind of looks a bit timorous at first and then realizes that there is water, and sort of half leaps, half scrapes itself forward and starts lapping desperately at the water in the bowl.
Poor thing.
With it occupied with that, I might just start looking at the writing desk and if there's any parchment around.
Absolutely. So, there are a number of things, but you said you were looking at the papers specifically, right?
Yeah.
So let's look a couple of things here. The paper sheets are mostly blank, or kind of have the start of sketches on them, kind of just where rough outlines have been drawn and the like. There is only one that looks to have been a drawing that has been completed. John, you have the handout for this. The handout that looks like a map, please.
Ooh.
Can we zoom in a little bit on that? So we have, because we don't need the up and down bit. Is that able to be seen roughly?
Yep.
So we have a map of some kind of area. We have various things written on it. Strange sound, smithies, tunnel, don't know, unknown, waterfall and lake, predator pack with prey, elf here, 3 meters, moss green skin, 5 to 10 elves, campfire, singing in sorrow. Can we scroll up a bit, please? We have a guide to kind of the length of the place, 600 to 800 paces, with ceiling being 4 to 20 meters. There is a path leading to the well, brackets, I wept. And let's move to the bottom. Weapons, guard room, really smaller, mosaic, Keroan, be polite. Make of that what you will.
Does this bear any resemblance to... So when we went down the sinkhole and we went north...
This bears no resemblance whatsoever to the look of the caves of the sinkhole, no.
Okay.
There was to the north. I mean, to go a little bit beyond that, we did find like a kind of a guard outpost, and there was a sort of a barracks of sorts.
Yeah, and beyond that, it kind of it sort of opened out, right?
Then there was I
we
think
didn't
after
really
that
explore.
After that, there was another chamber to the north, which we didn't really explore that much. And then I think there was a passageway going off from the north of that, if I remember correctly. But we didn't explore up there.
Okay. I mean, if they're talking about ceilings, then this looks like a cave, right? This looks like underground.
Certainly.
Yeah. Which means it's under the forest. The forest is bad. Under the forest, always worse.
I mean, unless the well that it's talking about is the well in town, in which case this would be south of the town. But I don't know how we would get there if that was the case, or how we'd find out.
I believe there is another image of a well that you found in other notes of Anadea. Is that correct?
Yep, I remember that.
A well surrounded by figures who seem to be elves.
Yes.
Can't
remember whether Aaron's actually seen it, but yes.
This, I believe, is... Or maybe that well, if she wept, might be the place where no tear is shed in vain.
Could be.
I think this one comes with us, and we go and find Lysindra.
Are we going to look around the storage chamber more first?
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned some books, Matt.
I did. I mentioned specifically, the 2 books on a rickety shelf. One is a very typical tome of Prios. The other is a sort of very early nascent tome on Davokar itself. Both of them are fairly common books you've seen before. Neither of them are particularly remarkable. There is also what appears to be a clerk's journal lying on the crate next to all the note paper.
Definitely need to take a look at that.
Okay, so the notebook seems to be a kind of journal, if a very fragmentary one. Anadea clearly started writing in it only a couple of days before she died, and seems to have been in a state of some conflicted emotion and confused thoughts. The first page contains a self-portrait of her with sad, tear-filled eyes and smiling lips, and the only really coherent other part of it is the entry on the second page, and I believe, John, that is the other handout I passed to you. So if you could pop that up, and we can have someone read it. Well, Askarai, I think, mentioned the journal, didn't you? So Sam can read this if you can.
Okay. I will save the world from Prios, from the Queen, from all. Violence begets violence till none are left to fight. That's it. Never more. I am alone here, about knowing. Not everything. The mayor has also been there, in the halls, and the friend of Golden Grasp. Marvel?
Mayorol. I don't know how should we pronounce it. Mayorol. Let's pronounce it Mayorol.
Mayorol. But they don't know me, cannot know. I am needed, but I'd rather be needed there. Contribute to the well with my tears and stop?
Mm-hmm.
The choice has been made. You'll learn. She trusts you. Remember what you serve. Anadea is nothing. Her actions, everything. Everything. Now sleep. Drone Jew sleep.
Go ahead and give me a Law Master roll, Anton. So cunning roll, please.
I make it.
Drone Dew is just a sedative solution that is used a lot in, healers use it, law masters use it for various purposes.
The halls, the person from the Order Magic that told us that the
The
place
hall,
where
yeah, the halls of 1,000 tears.
all of 1,000 tears.
Yeah, to where the location can move, right? Although we know
that
Suppose-
is the rumor. Yeah.
yes, yeah, we didn't quite establish what that meant, but that it was probably in Davokar somewhere, and
Mhm.
yeah, and that was from as I recall from a conversation with the Auto Magica about the figures in the picture of the well. Did I remember that rightly?
You
So that
do
was
remember that correctly.
So they recognized one of the elves. I don't
Recognize
know.
a name as being Elvish, which is Tiara Tiana.
Yes, yeah. Ah, who sent the note to Anadea.
Mhm.
Sorry, I've been taking notes all along.
So
translates to rays of the sun, right?
It's worth noting, that Tiara Tiana appears to have been an elf who sent notes to Anadea, and maybe was located in the halls of 1,000 tears. The portrait of a specific elf that Anadea made was a female elf, and here she says, "You'll learn she trusts you."
Do we? So I can't remember if we've seen anything in Anadea's handwriting before, but I guess we've seen the note from Tiara Tiana.
Yeah, I'm happy to if John has that. Do we want to bring those things up again? I don't know if it would help refresh our.
Doing a bit of handwriting detective work to see if we
it
can
was
figure
definitely
out.
different handwriting.
Definitely different handwriting. Yeah,
It was like very square, I think.
yeah, it's very. It was very almost like Symbaric notation. John, I don't know if you want to pop up the note from.
Yeah, I also want to say, and this isn't from Aaron because Aaron wouldn't know about it. You definitely have something from Anadea before because she sent you a letter to offer you the job.
To offer you a job in the first place, and this does match her handwriting. Yes.
Yeah,
but that is the note from Tiara Tiana.
Okay, so that note was written by Anadea herself.
No, this
note, not this one. Yeah, this is
the note,
the one we were just looking at.
Yes, that journal is definitely Anadea's writing. This appears to be the writing of the elf to Anadea, saying, "We will meet where no tear falls in vain." So, am I right? I mean, I would like to summarize this, if anyone, unless one of you wants to do it. That'll be me. It seems like you were hired by Anadea to protect, or attempted to be hired by Anadea to protect Thistlehold from a great menace. She died before she could tell you what that is. Perhaps it was the sinkhole, perhaps it was not, but she seemed surprised by it, and perhaps that this was not the threat that she had anticipated. The person, she seemed to have been working on behalf of an elf who's located in the Hall of 1,000 Tears called Tiara Tiana. And according to the journal you just read, you have the names of two people who may know where the Hall of 1,000 Tears is. One of them being the mayor, according to Anadea, and the other being a friend of Golden Grasp called Miarael. Are we searching the rest of the chamber?
Yes.
I am feeding one of my dried meat field rations to the meerkat.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that, and the meerkat will snatch it hungrily off your fingers.
Also taking advantage of the distraction to try and pet it, because obviously if it's here, it's a pet, right?
Sure. Let's give me a. Why don't you give me a quick roll?
I can.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Quick roll. Target is 13. I rolled a 9. Successful pet.
You do manage to get a couple of pets of the meerkat in before. Well, as soon as it stops eating, it does kind of snap at you somewhat slowly because its reflexes aren't exactly in tip-top condition, but not like out of huge amounts of aggression. Just it does not seem to be a domesticated animal, but it is a hungry animal, and that goes a long way. So, while Arendar is doing this, shall anyone who wants to search the remainder of the chamber, why don't you give me a vigilant roll here, and we'll just give stuff to the whichever vigilant rolls are best.
I needed a 10 and I got a 5.
I got a 3.
Ooh.
I got a 9.
Okay, well, Anton and Alindra, then you both find things. So Anton, you find a ceramic flask standing on one of the shelves containing a transparent fluid. Normally, you'd need a cunning test with a certain thing, but you know what? I'd say you can unplug the top of it, take a quick sniff, and find that it contains 1d6 doses of drone dew. It's most likely been used at some point. I mean, Anadea said in her journal that she used it, but also it would be a very good thing to use to keep a wild animal calm. And if you can roll the 1d6 for how many doses are in it, which will probably mean that's one dose, but
it's 4 doses. Oh, ye of little faith.
Nice.
Proved wrong 3 times over. So, Alindra, as for yourself, in the outer pocket of a knapsack found amongst the field gear, there is a small box made from bark. It contains a small lump of something which feels and smells like a truffle, but which is rust red in color. And you cannot roll to figure out what it is because no one can in this group because no one has alchemy.
So a red truffle in a bark box.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, many. If you really want to know what it is, I'm sure you can find people to tell you.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely loot.
Everything else in the chamber is just, faffery.
Cool.
Is there a bed in the chamber?
There's a mattress.
Mattress. Okay.
Has Asgray ever encountered, like in Davokar or anywhere, anyone who has a meerkat as a pet?
Yeah, certain barbarians quite often, at least partly tame them as kind of guard animals or hunting animals or things like that. So it's certainly not outside the realms of possibility. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can imagine maybe at one point, and I'm completely making this up, there was a brief fashion among the kind of the ladies of Thistlehold to have meerkats gelded when they were young and kind of lead them around on a leash, but it inevitably led to other nearby animals or children end up being bitten. So it kind of fell out of fashion. They're certainly not, you doubt they can be fully domesticated, but if you had a more outdoors active life, perhaps one could be a companion.
Is it reasonable then to say that keeping one in a cage in a warehouse in the middle of town is quite unusual behavior, right?
Yeah, definitely unusual.
Asgray, do you know of anyone who could take care of this creature?
I mean, not in Thistlehold, but I'm sure there would be someone who would take it, but I don't know. Our best bet may be the Odavs.
I guess for now we can go and find some more food and water to bring it. I don't see that we're going to be letting it out anytime soon, but the thing must have been here in the dark waiting for days. How long has it been since the sinkhole now? Like a week?
I was thinking about this earlier. I think it's been maybe about 2 weeks since the start of the story.
How big is could we carry the whole cage?
Oh yeah, a couple of you could definitely carry it. It's pretty light because it's malnourished. A couple of you could definitely carry them between you.
So just a point of... So no one really knows we're here and no one really knows we have access to this place. Given we're on basically at least 2 pretty high-profile lists, I suggest we go get some mops and buckets and clean this place up. and bunk here for a while.
That seems like a pretty good idea, Stuart.
Bit cramped for all of us, but
We also need to speak to Lysindra.
It would, someone has probably already mentioned it. It would definitely be a cramped place for 5 of you to be for a protracted period of time. But 1 or 2 of you could certainly bunk in here without any discomfort.
And we could keep an eye on this poor creature as well.
I think it makes sense for at least some of us to be here. I mean, the agency has been relatively safe up until now, unless 2.5 Templars are going to try to storm the agency. I think
It's the whole Church of the Dead Prios or whatever they're calling themselves at the minute. Like we've now got all the cults and probably these guys who are fairly certain they know or will be able to work out it was us that did this, and then we are double marked.
the Templars definitely saw me, and they'll find their friend with 2 arrows in his back. I think
this is one of these situations where it might be a good idea to lay low for a while, and maybe a better idea to skip town for a while, and given we now have a map and a few more names to go after.
I agree. For now, I'm happy to stay in this room, at least at night.
Let's see if we can track down Lysindra, and we'll get some cleaning supplies for this place as well.
Okay, so sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I was going to suggest to Steo that he gives that wound of his some attention, because if we do happen to run into our Templar friends, we need him fighting fit.
Sounds good. So the idea is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that some of you are going to go out, find some cleaning supplies, maybe a fresh, larger crate for this poor beast, bring them back here, wash everything down, and then you're going to go seek out Golden Grasp. Is that the idea?
I think that's the general plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think while we're looking for cleaning supplies, are there any very barbarian taverns nearby?
The Witch and Familiar.
Which is quite nearby.
Very nearby. And very barbarian. And very friendly.
Ask if Alamar knows anyone who could
take care of a meerkat.
Yeah.
If anyone you know, like as Ascarai said, the Odavs, most of the barbarian peoples in Thistlehold are Odavs. Alamar certainly is. They would be the people to most know.
Yeah, so long as we don't eat there or stay there, I don't see any harm in paying a visit.
We can probably start eating there again. I think that assassin is not going to be trying the same trick twice.
That's true.
Especially since she's dead.
So long as Alamar doesn't think that us being around is bad for business, like.
He didn't seem to have any proclivity to kick you out even after it had happened, so.
No, but also like 6 people died in his.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That's kind of bad for business, I suppose. So, okay. So, I don't see any need to kind of have to kind of fully role play out this stuff. We can go out and we can find some cleaning supplies. Whoever's paying for them lose a thaler. Let's say that's what that costs. Are you also going to talk to Alamar at the same time, or are we kind of like just cleaning the place out and going about our business first? Or we can also pick up some fresh meat and more water for the beast.
I'd like to go and check in on Alamar. It's been a while.
Sure, absolutely. Is that a situation you want to role play, or do you just want kind of some information and?
Yeah, well, I don't think we should really, unless there's a group of us going, I think it's best just to do an exchange of information.
Absolutely.
I'll be asking if he knows anyone who can look after a bobcat or a meerkat.
A meerkat? I can ask around. For hunting?
I think so. Poor thing was in a bad state of neglect. Found it recently.
I mean, you can always try and sell it to the Abomatorium, but it'll just end up in the arena there.
No, poor thing's suffered enough.
I'll ask around, Sergeant. I'll see.
Thanks. Everything's been okay around here?
Yes. More people are coming here.
Okay.
I think it's given the place a sense of notoriety.
It's like gambling, but with food poisoning. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. We'll be back when this settles down a bit.
See you soon, Sergeant. He waves you off cheerily. He seems to kind of think to offer you some free food and then kind of thinks better of it. Let's reconvene back in that room. You've cleaned the room. The meerkat is looking slightly happier in a larger cage. It's still got kind of very matted fur and is in poor shape, but it's eaten its fill of some fresh meat and water and is now kind of curled up in the corner, snoring quite loudly. And I guess, Chris, you should probably make a medicus roll for yourself.
Yep, let's give that a go. I might actually, while I'm out, buy another couple of herbal cures. Can anyone remember how much they cost?
Not much, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Can someone have a check of that in the core rulebook?
Medicus is on cunning. 9, or sorry, 10. Oh my god, it's a 19. That's a big fail.
It's a big fail. This is a big, sore, partly cauterized wound from a sun axe.
I think I might actually have to go and see a licensed healer.
An actual licensed healer and sort that out. Yeah, sure.
Herbal cure is 1 thaler.
Oh my god. Absolutely.
Are you doing that kind of before Golden Grasp or while the others are going to see Golden Grasp? Or
no, I think we're all going to Golden Grasp together. This was while I was out dealing with Alamar.
Okay, so you can go to let's say you go to a healer while you're out on the way back from Alamar, and can someone check what a healer costs in the list?
So
if we can.
I will definitely purchase 2 more Medi friends.
2 more herbal cures. I'm sure there will be a cost of a healer or something.
Medicus, 1 shilling plus the cost for any alchemical preparations.
Huh?
Okay. Well, let's say they used a herbal cure. So let's say that's a shilling and a thaler. And with that, how much do you roll for an adept medicus healing?
Adept is going to be, it's D4 standard, it's D6 when you're adept, plus whatever the bonus you get from the herbal cure is.
So I think it just. I will double check, but I think herbal cures just knock it up a die.
I think it's a D8 if you're adept.
I think it's just. I think it's +1 on whatever result you get with a herbal cure, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, is it?
Let's double check. This is my health we're talking about.
A successful cunning test heals 1d6 of patient's toughness or 1d8 when using a herbal cure.
Yeah.
Okay. At adept.
Yeah, give yourself a D8 roll then, please, Chris.
4. Can't complain. I'm back on 10 out of 13.
So there we go. You get your wound bound up. Hey, maybe by the old healer woman on the other side of town. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I feel like I owe her the run of business.
Owe her some service after getting information from her dishonestly. So we are going to find Golden Grasp. So I don't think anyone's really asked it before, but you know what? Let's have Steo. You've got just contacts this'll hold, haven't you? I don't think you need to roll for it. Yeah, you know where Golden Grass lives. It's a fairly large house near the East Gate. Hey, near the healer. There we go.
Okay, well, that's all lined up then. So I suppose I'll once again, trying to stick to side streets, we'll march the group across to.
It's near the Winged Ladle as well.
Great. And I suppose we might want to have a quick chat on the way over here. It's like.
Yeah.
So
course of action. So I'm fascinated. Like, it's no criticism at all. I'm fascinated we didn't even consider Night Pitch. Just zeroed in on Golden Grasp.
Well, we knew Golden Grasp was trying to get in contact with us anyway.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
100% the
watching you.
rationale.
Well,
Yeah.
Plus, speaking the Night Pitch is hard, so let's go with the easy one first.
The person that's looking for us rather than the person that's sort of actively puts up barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did
Get a better
already
marketing
try
team.
once, in a very lackluster fashion, to talk to Night Pitch, and that didn't work out. So, yeah, let's. I can't remember what was it. Literally, like one of you went up to a guard at night home and just went, "Can we see him?" And they were like, "He's very busy," and you just fucked off. Like it was something.
No,
like that.
I think we had a chat with Marvello about the matter as well, didn't
Right,
we?
and he was like,
kind
yeah. And he said he's not.
gonna be hard.
I think he told you he's difficult enough at the best of times, and at the moment he's ill or something. Like he's a bit sick. So
I thought you just said he was really busy with a sinkhole.
There was that. Okay, well, at some point, there's rumors going around town that he's ill. So
Right.
I think maybe he looked ill when giving the speech.
that was
Yes.
it. That was it. Like his voice was cracking, and he was kind of snuffling into a kerchief and stuff. Yeah, sure. So you find yourself outside the rather large but somewhat plain-looking house of Lysindra Golden Grasp. It's a house of a size you would associate with like a successful merchant or a lord, or, for example, a highly noted former fortune seeker under the boughs of Davokar. There is no kind of like heraldry or anything like that above the door. It just looks like a large plain townhouse. Outside on the street are two young women in sort of quite basic but very functional leather armor with kind of some metal plating on. They look slightly bored, but still quite attentive to the people walking down the street. But they are definitely guarding the place.
So I suppose we just go and ask. Any ideas, friends?
We'd like to speak to Lysindra, please.
Business of the forest, or she's waiting for us, given the amount she's been hanging around our affairs.
We'd like to speak to Lysindra. We think she might like to speak to us as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, before one, I should know this, but Lysindra was one of the party members who, of which Night Pitch was one, who went into the forest and found the flower to cure the queen. And
you don't know if she was on that particular journey, but certainly Lysindra Golden Grasp and Lassifor Night Pitch were at one time fortune hunters in arms.
Okay, so I suppose we'll.
Who's doing the talking?
I think I'll go ahead. I don't want to put Arendar in the situation where he has to be noble to a person who isn't noble.
Sure.
That's quite unfair on Aaron.
So is the tack that Alindra suggested? We'd like to speak to Lysindra, and we think she wants to speak to us.
That's 100% the line I'll use, verbatim, quoting Alindra.
Okay. One of the guard women at the door kind of looks at you evenly a second and glances over the rest of you, turns to the other, who just kind of shrugs and turns and goes inside. And you're standing out there with the remaining guard for maybe 2 or 3 minutes before the door opens again. And standing there is the guard and Lysindra Golden Grasp, who I believe we have a portrait of, John. She looks quite a bit younger than the presumably years she does have, as someone who was famous for their activities in Davokar, 15 or more years ago now. She looks to be maybe in her early middle age, as you can see, kind of like slightly wild and thick flame-coloured hair, and sort of a sallow face and quite piercing eyes, which she stands there kind of like peering between you. Before she turns to the guard and just goes and turns to go inside. The guard kind of steps to one side and indicates for you to go in.
And inside.
Hurry in after.
You are escorted by that guard and another one who kind of appears from a side corridor to a room not too far from the front door you pass through. Again, a large and somewhat ornate, but not overly so, hallway into a side room with a large sort of oblong side. A large oblong table around which there are numerous chairs. The walls have various kind of Symbaric kind of mosaics on them, which even with a slight kind of glance will tell you after a short amount of time, even with as little experience as you have, that they are kind of replicas rather than the real thing. They're definitely made by Ambrian hands. And then at the back of the room is also like a sort of small reading area surrounded by plants fed from a large open lighted window onto a small courtyard. It's rather a pleasant room, in fact. Lysindra walks up to the head of the table, indicates for you to sit, and a servant appears again, kind of out of nowhere, with some wine, which is poured for you. The servant steps away, and Lysindra says, "Why now?"
We have completed all of our other pressing business.
We've done all the side quests.
And we believe you may be able to help us avert some further difficulties for this time.
Well, that may be. Why don't you tell me everything? Now, I don't want one of you to recap the entire story. Why don't you tell me what you tell and if you admit anything? So let's just say, do you admit anything?
We
Obviously-
surely would admit about the tablets that we found.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think similar to how we did things with Marvello, maybe just kind of gloss over the church part of it as much as possible because it feels like a separate thing, right?
Yeah.
Everything about the elves, but nothing about
it's-
the church or the tablets.
Yeah, Anadea, Iron Pact,
Mhm.
like
The sinkhole.
the sinkhole.
Yeah. Kind of going out to Glimmervan and stuff like that, but not not the work you did for the Lightbringer and not the work you've done for apparently the Queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
Because
she
you can
obvious?
fudge past like the Anadea stuff by saying, "Oh, we just found her key and found where it was."
We spoke to the church and they said that she'd been there this
Exactly.
year.
You
That
can
was
just-
the connection, you know.
Yeah.
Is she wearing an Iron Pact ring that I can see?
Why don't you give me a vigilant roll?
Okay. Need a 15. I rolled an 11.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't know. Ascrai thinks for a while about whether to take out his Iron Pact ring or not.
I think I would be watching her very carefully when we first kind of name drop Anadea and see what kind of recognition there is there, and like I guess get a feel for whether she has an expectation that we're going to be talking about Iron Pact business, right?
Sure.
Whether that is why she thinks that we're there.
Sure. Well, why don't you give me a vigilant roll then, please, Alindra, a -1.
Okay, so I need a 9. That's a 17.
Yeah, you can't get a read on her.
Cool. Okay.
As you're relating it to her. But so there's no lies you add to it, right? It's just kind of like you omit the stuff about the Lightbringer, the stuff about the Queen's business. But otherwise, and you keep the elf in it, right? Which you didn't for Marvello.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like burning out Blackmore and stuff like that. Okay. She nods and says, "So can I see the map, the letters?" Come on.
I don't have them, but I'll nod.
What am
as
I
if we
going
should
to do?
hand them over.
Steal them from you here in my house?
Oh, come on, get them out.
I guess we'll present them to her and let her read through them.
She kind of reads through the letters, kind of quite briefly, and kind of nods with a kind of like an understanding. Places them down, and then pores over the map carefully, slowly. So, I'm assuming you wish to carry out the task intended for you by your brief acquaintance.
We wish
I
to
think
do what needs to be done to avert the threat.
As I say, this. She turns the map around and like slides it slightly across the table towards you all. Do you know where this is?
Well, that's the thing. We understand it might move.
Do you know what it is?
We have the best that we... The Ordo Magica told us what they think it is.
The Hall of 1,000 Tears. I will strike a bargain with you. I know someone. As is no surprise to you, you have read the journal entry. Someone who can tell us how to get there. In return, I go with you.
What do you... May I ask what business you have there?
My own business. Nothing to threaten yours, the people there, you.
And I must assume that whatever you're doing works against the corruption and not with it.
Always.
Then I think you'd be welcome.
Were you working?
Sorry. If we have Sam, then John, then Stephen, if that's okay.
Do you have any idea where this place is? Is it in Davakar? Is it in a cave?
It's under the trees.
And
how far under, I don't know.
Okay. And your friend, an elf?
You've met him.
Okay. And why have you never been with him before? If you want to go to this place.
Not everyone is welcome at first. John.
We were intending to speak to you before we discovered this journal. We'd like to know why you've been following us.
Haven't been following you?
We've seen you in places.
I know, you saw me observing you exiting the sinkhole.
Yes.
There were a lot of people there, were there not? Were they also following you? I have an interest in acts of corruption inside the walls of Thistlehold. I assume you would count the depravities in the sinkhole among that?
Yes.
I was there to observe, and I observed you, as I've observed some of you before, doing some good work inside these walls. The Flayer, that was you, was it not?
Eventually, yes. Nasty business.
Stephen.
I'm interested in how closely you've worked with Anadea and the people around Anadea, whether or not you're goals are the same as hers, or whether you are doing something different. The Hall of 1,000 Tears.
Our goals are the same. Our methods may not be. I have never met Anadea. And
But
no, I never shall.
We only barely did.
I wish to talk to her mistress.
I think we probably do too.
Well then, it sounds like we are agreed.
Yeah.
All right. I think it is safe. A shadow behind one of the larger plants blurs, and the elf steps from the corner of the room, illuminated by a shaft of dust-drifted light from the window. He looks the same as he did before, kind of whenever he's not moving, he looks like a statue carved from ivory. And he kind of passes those kind of large, almost single-tone eyes across all of you and says, "So you heeded me of the red eye? And the prince? I'm assuming you have not tracked him to his lair."
He is a rumour and a shadow himself.
Perhaps for such as you. So, the Hall of 1,000 Tears. Tell me again what you found in Anadea's storage chamber.
Poor meerkat nearly starved to death, and Adea was looking after it.
A
Well, we are, I
companion
suppose.
a companion of necessity.
Why?
Make your way to the forest's edge with the beast. Other beasts do. Meerkat is good. The fungus, the bloom that you found, it is called tuber. Feed it to the cat, preferably while leashed.
What will
Follow
it do?
it. Follow the cat. It will head straight for the nearest gate. It could be days, weeks even. It depends where the gate is.
Are you
We'll
not
travel
coming
under
with
the
us?
forest again.
Sorry, one at a time. Sam?
Are you not coming with us?
I would not be welcome.
Why is that?
Not all are welcome.
Would he be welcome?
He gives the slightest of shrugs. Steo, you were saying something.
Yes, but it was just color text.
Color text is fine.
I was saying we have some experience going under the forest. Can't say I'm looking forward to going under there again.
You call what time you have spent there experience.
We lived through it. I call that experience.
A child may live through a fire. They cannot summon it. Lysindra, is that enough? Lysindra nods, and the elf, clearly pleased to stop having to talk to you, strides around the table and, without another glance in your direction, out of the door. Askrai, why don't you give me a vigilant roll?
Okay. Nope, I failed.
Never mind. Did you decide what you were doing with your ring?
I have not taken it out yet.
Lysindra looks around and says, Dawn, I do not wish to set out into the fringes of Davakar first thing at night.
Dawn.
What time is it now?
Evening.
The meerkat is not well. I'll look around to the group. Do we need to get its strength back before we set off?
It may be safer for us if it doesn't. If we fed it and watered it and cleaned it, I don't know what else we can do for it except take it out of its cage.
I mean, we don't want it keeling over halfway there, leaving us stranded.
We don't want to spend too much time waiting on it either. It would be better for it to return to the forest anyway. We can't keep it as a pet.
I'm sure the creature will have more stamina than some of us. Well then, Dawn? Yes? At the east
Dawn.
gate? No, the north gate. The north gate. We can converse with others on our way north. Very well. I will see you there. She stands up and kind of offers a very slight bow, and a servant kind of opens the door behind you.
Okay.
You know what? Let's have a cunning roll from everyone here.
Oh, that's an
Fail.
18.
Did anyone succeed? Yeah, Steo succeeded. Anton succeeded. Steo and Anton, it occurs to you that servants and guards and the like were all around when all of that was being discussed.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression it was... Oh.
Like the servant came in and out kind of with wine and things like that. You know, there was no particular sense of anyone stood outside the door would have heard what was being spoken.
And there was a whole heckin' elf just waltzing through the place as if they were in a bathrobe as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you leave the house of Lysindra Golden Grasp. What are we taking preparations and the like? What are we doing? Back to Davakar, friends.
Oh,
I'm gonna
Someone
buy
needs...
arrows.
Someone needs to speak to Marvello.
yeah. I'll do that.
I think we need to sit down as a group and discuss this.
I agree.
Just agreed to go to Davakar on a whim.
Well, look, we've got like 3 weeks of supplies we need to go and buy, and we've got a shiny new room to store them all in. So let's go to the clubhouse, I suppose.
Why are we even doing this? Who's paying us to go to Davakar? There was at least a
I'll tell you.
reward.
Nobody's
I'll give
paying
you
us.
one of them.
Nobody's paying us, Anton, but this is the job that we've been doing for the last 2 weeks. Like, Anadea was going to pay us, and then there was the sinkhole, and then I think we collectively decided that maybe the things that she was talking about were important for the safety of Thistlehold and Ambria and Davakar. Right? Like, isn't that why we were doing all of this?
Which I understand, but the last time we went into Davakar, it was to put an end to a very tangible, real threat that had existed in Thistlehold, the cursed crown. And this seems way beyond that in distance, in every sense from what we're doing. We're the threat to Thistlehold is potentially weeks away. So what even is it? Why are we going there?
How about another great reason for you? Right now, there are 2 exceptionally powerful and well-armed groups of people, probably more, in this town who want us dead. We have left this town for weeks with less threat than the threat we're facing right now. I think, honestly, choosing between Thistlehold right now with the enemies we've made and Davakar, I'll take the forest, especially if Lysindra's leading us.
I agree. I think, like Davakar, it's no more dangerous than Thistlehold for us at the moment. But you also have to think it may not be the case, but what Anadea was offering us, Anadea does not, as far as we've seen, does not own properties and money to give away to us. It was coming from some source, which we now know presumably to be the elves.
So she was either lying, or there may still be a payday at the end of this.
It seems very possible.
What have I told you about Davakar? 2 things come out of Davakar: money and problems.
Last time we came out with a lot of money.
Besides, if there is a tangible threat here, it seems
one
like
less
we're only going
friend.
to find it by going into the forest.
Yeah, we either... Do you want to all join the guard and wait for whatever's coming to march up on the gates, or do you want to go and try and... Because I'll tell you, the guard don't pay as well as one small box full of stuff in Davakar.
We will need to keep an eye on the elves. The elves are not our friends. They may be fighting the corruption, but they are absolutely no friends of ours. And
I agree. I'm more interested in our enemies right now. 1, we need to strike out against the corruption, like you just said, and the elves know more about it than we do. 2, we've enough enemies in town as well, so putting Thistlehold behind me in this one instance, unless we all go up to Yindaros for a couple of weeks holiday.
We made all of those enemies whilst investigating Anadea and the sinkhole.
So stop investigating and retire to the countryside?
Well, it's about 2 weeks too late for that, isn't it?
I tell you what, your man from that other paladin retired to the countryside. Didn't work out too well for him in the end.
Yeah, okay, right. So yes, not to put too fine a point on it, we've also murdered at least 1 Templar and many, many goblins in the service of... Oh, and a Black Cloak and several of his goons. And like we've left behind quite the body count in this investigation.
Yeah, let's let Thistlehold cool off for a while, and either we go into the forest and pursue this corruption, or we go, I don't know, Castor, Yindaros, the Titans, I don't know.
I think if we don't follow this, then what was any of this for? What was any of it for if we don't find ourselves at the North Gate at dawn tomorrow?
I agree.
I agree.
I do see what you're saying, Elendra, but I don't recall signing up for this when we went to go and meet the 2 witches outside of the North Gate 2 weeks ago. I don't remember signing up for going back into Davakar then.
You still got the ring, Ascarai?
I pat the pocket where my ring is. Yeah.
Father
I think we
Anton,
signed up for it implicitly, if not explicitly.
I came with you to Thistlehold. Like, why does anybody come to Thistlehold? It's to go north, isn't it? Sooner or later, for one reason or another, with one party at some time, you come to Thistlehold to go north.
Look,
Don't you?
you know me. I've always been a staunch critic of going into that forest, but look, we got a good reason this time. We had a good reason last time. I don't know. Maybe if we're lucky, I'll learn a little bit more about this spear.
God damn you.
I'm going to mutter a prayer to myself under my breath.
We will need to be very careful guarding information about those plaques. I have to think that plaques saying the Ambrians have the right to take over Davakar is just about the exact opposite of what the elves and the Iron Pact stand for.
The elves know about it. This is like everyone knows the prophecy. It's like
they might know about it, but they will not be pleased that we have helped in the Queen.
Our involvement in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we haven't. I've never seen those plaques.
Exactly.
And we certainly don't know who we were helping those plaques to get back to. Let's be very clear about that. Rumor and hearsay should remain as such.
There are no names attached to the refiling of those plaques except for Dar, and I don't know that. I don't know that guy either.
Well, yes, but hopefully that name will only be used in a positive, congratulatory term in behind closed doors among important people, right?
Gosh, you're so young, it's almost offensive, Aaron.
I just wanted to do something impressive.
We didn't see the tablets.
We didn't understand them, for sure.
We definitely didn't take rubbings of the tablets.
Maybe we should leave those behind.
Well, they're with Nightwatch now. I'm not going.
No, I mean,
I'm happy to never see them again.
No,
let's
not take those with us.
Okay. So, no, carry on, please.
Out of character, Matt. For the record, I am absolutely rolling the rubbings up and taking them with me.
Okay.
Right, but like concealed.
Sure. Like
yes, those
tucked under your tabard.
Those are coming with me into Davakar.
Okay, fair enough. Well, tell you what. Actually, being as at least one other member of the party said, I think it's only fair if one of the member of the party said that they really don't want them taken into Davakar. I think actually we should resolve this with a contested roll. How about that? So, Elindra, why don't you roll discreet, contested by Askarai's vigilant? That's probably going to be bad news for you. What's your vigilant, Askarai?
15.
Damn.
So it's a -5.
Ooh,
that's not to say you can't, just that whether Askarai notices or not.
Okay, fine. So this is assuming some point later tonight when I'm trying to sneak these things into the packing or whatever. Okay, so I've got a discreet of 9, so I need to roll a 4 or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
19.
Yeah, Askarai, you spot Elindra sneaking those rubbings into her pack as she's kind of packing for the journey in the morning. Do you confront her about it? Say nothing? Store it in your brain for later?
Can I wait and then at night remove them from her pack without telling anyone?
Sure. And you said at night when people are asleep, right? Let's perhaps we should say, for the purposes of this, that Elindra and Askarai are the two people who have decided to sleep in the clubhouse. So Elindra, why don't you? So Askarai, you roll discreet. Elindra, what's your vigilant?
10.
10. So, but I'm going to say if Askarai's waiting till you're asleep, let's put a -2 on that. So Askarai, give me a +2. Sorry, so a discreet at +2, please.
Okay, I'll need a 15. I rolled a 4.
Okay. There we go.
So Askarai is taking the rubbings into Davakar.
No, I think Askarai's left them in the.
I'm gonna
hidden away in the room.
I'm gonna hide them under the mattress or something like that,
where no one would ever think to look.
Hide them in the most obvious hiding place I can find.
Sure.
Wait, was that in the clubhouse? Did you say?
Yeah. We can't call it the clubhouse. It's yeah. It's in Anadea's storage room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, are there any other preparations that people want to do? Any things they want to specifically purchase? Any like tasks they want to carry out, any people they want to talk to, anything like that. I'll go around the group one by one in a random order. And obviously, if you want to think more, then say so. And you can defer. But let's do that thing. So let's start with, and you know what? Actually, people have mentioned it, and I'll have some people roll. Everyone who's been part of Mahira's agency, in fact, so that's all of you, can give me a cunning roll to see if any one thing occurs to any of you that no one has mentioned so far.
I just scraped a pass on that.
Okay. Anyone who passes on that roll, there's another thing you need before you go into Davakar. If you want to stay on the right side of the law, that is. You need yourselves a license to head under the boughs of Davakar. So, at least going where you're going, kind of off the roads. So, there's that. So while I deal with the first person here whose number comes up, can someone else look for how much a license costs and post it into the private chat, please? I'm sure you can afford it now, but it's going to be a bit costly, that's for sure. So first off, we have Anton. Mike, people you want to talk to, things you want to get, tasks you want to do, anything.
Don't think I really want to speak to anyone. I have a mental note that I want to go and speak to Balara, the medicine woman that we saw in the last episode at some point, but I suspect that with the Templar brothers knocking around, now is potentially bad time.
May not be the right time. No.
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to gear up. I believe that this is all happening in autumn, right? So we're heading towards...
Yeah,
winter.
you're kind of heading towards... I think I said it was like early autumn, but like a nasty early autumn, and now you're kind of like mid-autumn. It's definitely getting colder, and it's getting much, much wetter.
We've got a lot of the stuff, though, already, like in terms of all of our, like the gear that we took last time, right?
Correct, you do. What remains of it. But yeah, I think it's enough, because you did have a lot of gear from last time. So I'm perfectly happy to say that whatever you bought last time, you still have quite a bit of stock left over from that.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we'll go and collect that. Is that maybe the Witch and Familiar? And then I guess like buying field rations. I'll probably buy a couple more herbal cures.
Yeah, I trust everyone to kind of keep track of their expenditure and what kind of field rations and kind of things they have and herbal cures and the like. So feel free to make those purchases, but no specific tasks or conversations or anything other than that, Anton. I did have like sort of like half thing of you going, I'm going to talk to the Lightbringer or something like something Anton shaped like that. But I suppose it doesn't really make sense to do that. I don't know.
I don't think that Anton would, because I think that he perceives himself to really just be associated with the church now, not really part of the church.
Yeah.
And like she'd be way too busy and important to speak to Anton.
Sure.
Just a random priest going, I'm going to go into the forest. And she'd be like, yeah, great. What am I going to do with that information?
Yeah. Sure. So someone has pointed out the additional costs that, well, the cost 2 to 5 persons for a month is 10 thaler. I think it's safe to say that Lysindra will have her own license. So 50 thaler, 10 thaler should be fine. As Stephen pointed out, there are add-ons for gathering, harvesting, exploring, wagons, incompetence, intentions, and other. They basically cover all the bases. So you're always going to have to buy some kind of add-on. Explore. Yeah, it depends what, ultimately it doesn't matter unless you get caught. But if you do get caught or stumbled upon in any way, whatever reason you're giving for being there, you better have paid the add-on for it, or your license will be null and void. So it's up to you guys what you pick as that. I mean, exploring is kind of true. So exploring might be a good one to pick.
There is a note that says that if you're at any point intending to gather firewood or forage for food, then you pretty much need gathering and harvesting as well. Because bureaucracy.
Yeah. Well, okay. Then tell us the total for gathering, harvesting, and exploring in the main license. But don't. You can take a second to do that because I'm going to go to the next individual. Although I say that and then I roll John. Let's go to Sam. Ascarai, is there anything Ascarai wants to do?
There's a few things. I want to buy just like 10 normal arrows. I would also like to buy some of the like fancy arrows that there are in the advanced rulebook, but I don't know how accessible they are on a random evening in Thistlehold.
Why don't you give me a persuasive roll, and we'll see if you get access to some of them.
Okay, that's going to be tough. My
by asking around at the night market.
My persuasion is 5. So actually, is it 5? It might be 7. I rolled an 8, so I fail in either case.
Okay, no problem.
So it is 5. Okay, so failing that, I will. The other thing I'd like to do is take this. I can't remember what it was, like a red fungus, a red mushroom thing.
The tuber is what the elf referred to it as.
I'd like to get another. I'd like to take that to like
an alchemist and try and get more.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look how easy that is. Well, are you getting any like static from my mic? A little bit? Yeah. I think it's maybe a taxi outside or something. Sorry, young people won't know what that is. An Uber. Such a dick. So, let's find how, because there basically is a thing here. If you haven't found the tuber, how do you get? If you didn't find the tuber in the thing, how do you get hold of the tuber? Okay. Here we go. You find yourself like an alchemist stall in the night markets as you're trying to locate these arrows, and you kind of describe it and talk about the fungus to a kind of slightly wizened man there who's kind of nodding, and you're only vaguely sure that he's even listening to you. And he says, "Tuber, yes. So, how much do you want for it?"
I'm trying to buy some. How much?
From my stall. Here.
Oh. What is there some problem?
If you need some tuber, young man, I would suggest you go out into the forest and trade with the elves for it. Do you know how much it goes for in the market at Indaros?
I have no idea.
Half a bloom can run upwards of 100 thaler.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information, and apologies for wasting your time.
He nods and sends you on your way. I see a private chat going on about how much things would be. Because the licenses are 2 to 5 people, I would say the range of thaler, it will be the top half of that range because you're going for 5 people. So where it says 3 to 10 thaler for gathering, I'd say that's 10 thaler. So I'd take that and add it up. If you add up the ones for the 3 extensions and the original, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Yes, it's meant to be a lot of money. It's expensive to be allowed to go into Davokar. It's partly to put off people going in and dying in droves. Because it's really dangerous. If you're just heading in there in a group of like 5 people, you'll probably die. So, Ascarai, what else did you want to do? Sorry.
I think that is it. Although I wasn't overly successful, but I think I'll buy some like normal rations and things like that, but mostly just the arrows
and stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
So, Arindar, how about that? And the total then is 57 thaler. 11.4 thaler each. Whether some of you have 11 thaler is another matter, I suppose.
I realize that the answer to this is probably like the people who find you won't care, but does Ascry need a license given that he was presumably born in Davakar?
Yeah, you live in Ambria. You are an Ambrian, according to Ambrian law.
Okay.
Yeah, you need permission to be in the Queen's Forest. Yeah.
Right.
I am going to once we sit down as a group and, well, let's be honest, probably watch Anton do all these sums. Aaron raises a point. Could we maybe find a sponsor? Do we think that? I mean, we've already spoken to Gillingright, but maybe if we also spoke to Night Pitch, he could arrange a permit?
It's in Night Pitch's interests for us
And
to
if
go
he
do
doesn't,
this.
we could see if we can call in a favor with the Order Magica.
Would the agency not help us? This is sort of...
The agency would want a cut. We keep this off the agency's books. It's a little better given the Iron Pact are involved.
I imagine things with the agency are much simpler when it's just kind of go into forest, get treasure.
Yeah, it's like contracts that they take. They don't tend to sponsor people for no input.
This is a bit outside their normal kind of business model, right?
I'm going to go and have a chat to Marvello later. Let me see if I can swing a meeting with Night Pitch, because he doesn't not owe us.
While I'm not against the role-played attempts or even success of this, it just be aware that, like, you know, it's the evening before you're meeting someone for Dawn to go into town. Your chances of getting to see Night Pitcher, you'd estimate, are pretty slim. But, like, I'm not saying don't try it. Hey, maybe. But just so you know, that's all.
Stop it. Sorry.
What's
Someone's
the process?
pulling my headphone cable.
Okay, it's not me. What's the process of actually getting licenses? Like, is there some kind of office or bureaucrat that we can go and see at this time of night?
You just go to the office. Let's say it's the what's it called? Is it called the Hall of Records or something? The same place that the Hall of Knights is.
Okay.
Where that is, it's just there. Yeah, you just go and you just apply, and they will evaluate you and do things like going, "Are you incompetent? We'll charge you more money," and stuff like that. But yeah, any one of you can go in there and purchase a license for the group for 57 thaler.
Okay, well, I'll do that on my route, and we'll get the money off the other beneficiaries of FNA's Horde later.
Okay. So right. So John proposed if you could get sponsored, and maybe we'll find out if there is any progress on that when we get to Steo. Was there anything else, John?
I don't think so. Other than if someone is heading towards Glimmervan, I don't know if there's any kind of like mail service in Ambria. But if there is a caravan or something going to Glimmervan...
Yeah, you can generally pay to have kind of mail delivered along carriage routes by, you know, whether that, like, is something that works or not is another matter, but yeah.
Well, I have 4 thaler that I put to one side from... I've forgotten his name, but the cultist from the Adventurers Guild who burnt down, his disciples burnt down the farmhouse in Glimmervan.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god. Yes.
It's Arkle. Arkle owned the farmstead.
Erok?
Oh, Erok.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my share from raiding his pockets was 4 thaler. And I want to put it in an envelope and send it to Arkle.
Okay, you can absolutely do that. Yep.
That's all I wanted.
Send
other
it,
than-
send it along with a reputable tradesman who takes, amongst other things, takes mail along trade routes.
Yep. That's everything.
Okay, then Stephen.
Okay, so I think Elindra is just going to go out and find some kind of, it's evening time, right? But find some kind of late night market, and probably get completely ripped off on a sort of my first trip into Davakar adventurer's kit. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
like she doesn't really know what she needs, but she figures that there's probably someone that sells it, whatever it is.
Yeah, there absolutely will be. So I think what we did the first time with the others, and the others kind of know what they're doing now, but I think what we did was do a cunning roll, and based on how bad or good that is, charge you a certain amount for it. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it's more than 4 Thaler, I can't afford the license to go there anyway. But like, let's find out, right?
Let us indeed find that out. So there's definitely a thing for there's definitely a thing for kind of adventuring packs sort of thing. I can't find where it is right now. But there we go. Oh, field equipment. So yeah, why don't you give me a cunning roll and I'll tell you how much someone tries to rip you off for.
All right, I need my cunning is 10. Let's roll 17.
Okay, in that case, well, the actual price of it is 1 Thaler and 5 shillings. So let's say 2 Thaler and 5 shillings is what they they charge you for it.
Okay. So that and what is it called? It's just a field pack.
Yeah, just a backpack and field equipment.
Equipment.
Okay. It's just things like bedroll, cooking pan, firewood, flint and steel, rope, water skin, things like that. Yeah,
that's kind of it, really. And then I suppose I'm gonna sleep in the weird room next to the cat and have the rubbing stolen from me in my sleep.
And dream obliviously.
Dream of being robbed.
Yes.
Changelings.
By a friend.
It's sorry to interrupt, but seeing as Anton was mainly buying supplies as well, would it be likely that we're in the same part of town at the same sort of market buying things?
Yeah, sure, why not?
And could I maybe politely give some advice to buy some warmer clothes to Elindra?
Sure.
And even loan some money if that's needed. Because I think that we all took like massive furs last time we went up into Davakar.
Yeah, winter gear definitely seems like an idea because it's sort of tail end of autumn now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Or at least mid-autumn. And it's good. Yeah, it is going to be cold in Davakar. Can anyone see kind of? Oh, here we go. Clothing. Let's say I think winter gear will be the same. It as like an equivalent of a burger's garb. There, I think that's good. I think it'll be 1 Thaler for some decent winter clothing.
All right.
Like a furred cloak and some like dense boots and things like that. Cool. Steo, we come to the man, myth, and the legend finally.
I would like to purchase. Let's see. I'm going to say 3 weeks of travel rations.
Sure.
And I will make the cunning roll on that, I imagine.
No. It's just basically because Elindra hasn't been out buying adventuring gear before. It's fine. You can just buy it for whatever it's the standard charges.
Cool. We'll calculate that in a second.
Yeah. No
I'm also going to go to Marvello first and brief him on what's going on very vaguely.
Sure. So basically, well, why don't you tell me what you don't have to do it in character, but tell me exactly what you tell him, bearing in mind he knows about the elf.
Yeah, 100%. I'm telling him that our party and Lysindra will be leaving for Davokar in the morning, partially to address a risk to the town, but also to just get away from the place so people aren't trying to kill us as much.
Sure. He kind of nods at this. You manage to catch him kind of at the end of his shift, coming out from the barracks, and he nods and says, "All right, well, try not to die in the forest.
And then
Town
I
will
will drop.
probably be a bit calmer without you in it for a few weeks anyhow."
Ouch! Right in the feels. I don't suppose you know anyone who would give us a sponsorship to get the licenses.
Unless you have proof of what's happening and where you're going and what the threat is.
Oh, not in time for dawn tomorrow. I guess it'll come out of my pocket.
Well, enjoy that then.
Wish me luck. I may not be back alive.
He nods and holds his hand out for you.
Oh, shake that hand. I would also like to draft a letter to the Lightbringer with the names, the list of the names of the Dark Ones who are still practicing in Ambria. And I have them written down here if you want me to read them.
No, that's okay. You can note those down. And what do you do with that letter?
I'm going to ask if Antom can run it up to the church, because obviously it's easier for him to sneak in. And
sure, yeah.
I'm going to tell him what's on it as well. He was there.
Yeah.
He knows what the crack
Yeah.
is. And then
Antom,
I suppose I'm going to drop.
Sorry, you carry on, Chris.
And then I suppose I'm going to drop 57 Thaler on licenses.
Yeah, the clerk quite happily writes out the license for you, kind of looks you up and down and says, "You're one of Mahira's, aren't you?"
Yeah, Mahira's. We were in the sinkhole as well.
Oh, that was you. And your companions here? These names?
Yep.
They all the same?
All the same as last time. I'll just double check, make sure Aaron's on there.
Going in with anyone else?
We will be, but they've made their own arrangements.
All right. Okay. Kind of writes it all down. There's no marker, there's no surcharge for incompetence or anything. And yeah, you are licensed. You are ready. No, John has said, fuck, that takes it up to 6 people. No, as I said, Lysindra has her own license. Anton, are you happy to run that letter over to the Sun Temple? Don't want any particular thing. Are you just passing it off to someone there to be given to the Lightbringer?
No, I think I'd rather deliver that in person, actually.
Okay. I'm happy to kind of gloss over, the getting in to see her and stuff like that. I think you've earned that now, and you were escorted, and this is quite late at night now, up to that copper dome, and let in. The Lightbringer is standing kind of diminutive, but with somewhat sense of presence, with her burned face and kind of calm and calming gaze. And as you kind of walk in, she walks over to you and kind of pats you gently on the arm and says, "Father Anton."
Your Holiness, forgive my late intrusion. I can't stay long, but I have a list of names that I believe that we mentioned that we had before of, and I'll sort of look around sort of slightly furtively before saying these words, but the names of Dark Lords who we fear may still be operating.
Yes, you spoke of this. May I?
I'll pass it over to her.
She kind of unfurls the letter, glances down the list, and kind of looks at it and takes it in. She's not just looking at it dismissively or anything. She nods with kind of no expression on her face at all and folds it and says, "Thank you. I assure you this will be investigated."
I of course assumed it would be, and there was no one else that we trusted with this information more than yourself.
I appreciate that, Father Anton. Do come to me if you have any other concerns or if you feel you may be of more service to the church.
Of course, Your Holiness. But unfortunately, I must take my leave now. For I have an urgent errand tomorrow morning.
Thank you. She kind of sees you to the stairs. You are taken out, and yeah. Is that all of our preparations for the night before our travel?
I forgot to mention this, but can I buy like a small dog leash?
Yeah. That's absolutely fine. That's an Orteg or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. That's absolutely fine. So we sleep the night away in various places, and in the morning, I'm assuming we're gathering ourselves and heading to the North Gate.
Oh, yes.
Okay. You find yourselves all at the North Gate. It's just been opened for travelers. You can see a couple of kind of barbarian traders already coming in at the gates, and standing just outside it, dressed in kind of worn but very practical looking traveling gear, with sort of a tall walking stick and a large pack on her back. That kind of red hair tied back in a bundle is Lysindra Golden Grasp. And as you approach, she nods and says, "Definitely on time. To Davakar, then."
Okay.
I assume you walk over, kind of underneath the boughs of Davakar, and kind of look around. I'm assuming someone has brought the crate with them, or people have brought the meerkat in the crate.
I guess Ascarai and I would have brought it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Seems-
sense. So you kind of get the I'm wondering something, because I would like to. Yeah, okay. Before we do that, actually, Lysindra looks around once you reach the forest edge, which is only like 100 meters north of the North Gate itself. She looks around and sees over to the left, where there's a small wisp of smoke coming up from the edge of the forest, and you can see kind of silhouetted in the dawn light against the trees, kind of what look like trees at first, but after you realize they're kind of gently like kind of rocking side to side, almost as if a person would when they're waiting for a long period of time on sore feet. She turns and says, "I'm going to speak to some friends. Would anyone like to come with me?"
Were they the ones who they've been here 2 weeks?
Yes.
Oh, I think we should.
I'll join you.
They came offering help and were not allowed inside, but they're still duty bound to offer it. So here they are.
Not for want of trying.
She leads you, and you all walk over. The witches Gadramon and Ephanea are sat by the fire, sharing a kind of little stewed pot of vegetables and meat. And as you walk over, they stand up, kind of look at each other briefly, or still masked. And then as Lysindra walks up, they incline their heads and say, "Lysindra, nevermore." She returns the greeting and turns slightly to look at you, and then turns back and starts talking to them in a barbarian dialect. I can't remember if I said were they. I think they are Odav, right? I think so. I can't remember.
I think they
Do you
must.
remember, Anton?
I think they must have been, because I think that's the barbarian thing that I'm most familiar with, and I had
And you
a pretty good
translated
conversation
for
with
them.
them.
Yeah. I think that's probably the case. They are all talking quite fast. Anton, do you want to give me a lore master roll to see how well you understand what they're saying? You'll get a general gist, but
I rolled a 3, so
Okay.
I think I understand.
you absolutely do. Lysindra is literally just telling them that she is going into the forest, seeking the Hall of 1,000 Tears with your group, and that she hopes to return soon. And if she does so, then she may be able to help further with whatever is going on inside Thistlehold, with what the well spoke of, is the term that she uses. And she hopes that the 5 of you will as well.
Well, I will, in Broken Odav, confirm that I will, or we will help out with that.
Lysindra kind of turns and looks at you and tilts her head in slight surprise that you understood that. The witches kind of nod and kind of look around between you, and Gadramon steps forward, the one who spoke most before, and Ascarai, am I right in saying that last time you wore the ring when
Yes.
you interacted with the witches? Yeah.
He asked me for it, and I refused to give it to him.
Sure. He steps forward and kind of indicates out with a hand, not for you to hand it over, but like a display, if you could show it, gesture
I'll show
to
it
you.
him. Yeah, I'll get it out and show it to him.
Lysindra kind of looks around and with a visible start, kind of like looks down and up and says, "Why did you not tell me?"
I have an iron ring.
You earned it?
I took it. It's mine now.
I suppose it is. Well, maybe we can see if you do earn it.
Well, we'll see. I don't know what that means, but it's been helpful to us.
Gadramon nods and looks at you and Ascarai, and in quite heavily accented Ambrian inclines his head and says, "Nevermore." The witches turn and sit back by the campfire. Lysindra leads you away from there. So we have a crate, we have a leash, and we have a fungus. Who's doing what here?
Aaron, I think you're the one who's made the best impression on the kitten, so I believe you're your animal handler.
Yep. I will try and probably through the crate slip the leash around the meerkat's neck.
Presumably while feeding it some kind of treat of
Distracting,
meat
yeah.
or something. Yeah. Why don't you give me either a cunning or a quick roll there, please?
Okay, that is going to be a quick roll for sure.
And you know what? You can take a +2 because the meerkat kind of trusts you now, or at least a little bit.
I had a target of 15 and I rolled a 14.
Lovely. You slip the leash over its neck. It does not like it, especially at first. But I'm assuming we're opening up the crate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
I think I'll offer to hold the leash if you want to feed it the fungus.
Alindra is the strongest.
Yes. Yeah. That's probably a good idea.
Sure. Yeah, Alindra, you can hold on. It's a relatively powerful animal for its size, but it's still like, I'm thinking this meerkat is probably around the size of like
half of 2 lambs strapped together.
Good Coriolis callback. I'm trying to compare it to like a dog size because it's more like, but it's not like a large dog. You know what I mean? Not like a huge one. A half-grown Labrador. I genuinely can't think of a medium-sized dog. I can think of small dogs and big dogs. I can't think of a medium dog.
Right.
Someone give me a medium dog.
Like a I can't remember how big Labradors are. Like a rough collie?
Well, I tell you what, and I know one person in this group will appreciate this. It's the size of a Labradoodle.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Labradoodle or a poodle or something along those lines. That'll do. Yeah, Dalmatian, whatever. I
Okay,
can
so
certainly think of medium-sized dogs. Yeah, Dalmatian's edging on top. Look, we're losing momentum. So, the meerkat comes out. Alindra, you can hold on. Aaron, are you trying to feed it the tuber?
Yes.
It takes one whiff of the tuber and it's no interest in consuming it whatsoever.
I will, using some knowledge from someone called John, wrap it in a hank of bacon that I bought from the market, and then
Sure.
try and feed it to it.
The meerkat absolutely wolfs it down, swallows it whole, goes for your fingers a little bit as well, and then kind of sits there, kind of like tugging vaguely and licking its chops and peering around for a bit, for in fact an uncomfortably long time that leads some of you to kind of question whether perhaps this really, are you the victim of some kind of elf prank?
I will
then-
definitely, before this, have mentioned that this thing we're feeding it is worth like 100 thaler, just so people are aware.
Yeah.
That reminds me, everyone owes me for these licenses, by the way.
Yes.
Money they definitely have. Some of them have it. But after a few minutes, a change comes across the beast. The meerkat kind of starts quizzically looking around, almost as if it can hear something, and then sniffing at the air. Stephen, it's starting to strain at the leash.
Okay. I will allow it to move at like a kind of walking pace wherever it wants to go.
It kind of pads forward cautiously, and then with greater confidence starts to stride, kind of like tugging slightly at the leash, not trying to run, but like definitely leading you forwards through into the undergrowth, through the trees, under the boughs, into Davakar. I think we will end our session there. It's the end of Act 2 of Wrath of the Warden. Finally, after about 20 episodes. So there we go, folks. If you've got any comments or questions, please do sling them in the chat. And we will talk about them after we do some wonderful promo. So, as I say, thank you for watching. There is links down below, YouTube and Twitch. We're on both of those. You watched this on one of them. Please check out the other one and subscribe and follow and like and blah, blah, blah. Our YouTube in particular just has a colossal amount of actual play content on it now. There's bound to be something you enjoy on there. So check that out. We've got links to our social media, to our Discord and our Patreon. Please have a look at those if they interest you. Our Discord has a lovely little community, so feel free to join that and be nice. And we run 3 regular weekly streams here on Twitch. Mondays is our Monday crew, who variously run Call of Cthulhu, Shadows of Estrin. They've just finished a Shadows of Estrin story arc, and I honestly don't know what they're planning to do this coming Monday. I think it's still Shadows of Estrin, but I could be wrong. So that's a surprise to be found out, I guess. Wednesdays is, of course, Symbaroum, and Thursdays is Cincinnati Chronicles, our World of Darkness anthology series, although it's not on this week and not on next week and maybe not the week after, but soon the 4th story arc will start, which is Wraith the Oblivion. We've already completed Vampire, Werewolf, and Mage, and those are available on our YouTube. We also run a one-shot on the first weekend of every month, playing lots and lots of different systems. This has actually been the first month we've missed in 12 months. So well done to us for keeping it up so long. I really don't know why I went slightly Bowie there, but it's just something we're going to have to live with. But we will start our one-shots again on the first weekend of March, specifically Sunday the 6th of March. We'll be playing Tales from the Loop, so join us for that. Oh my God, that's all my promo. And thank you to Gillian Stark for a follow, and thank you to John for 15-month subscription. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and we had a subscription from Lord Malice, but I don't know if that resubscribe, but I don't know if that was on Monday. Johnny may have already said it, but hey, we love you here, Malice. Have another thank you. Yeah. Okay. Comment me. Can you met the petthemeerkat.com? I mean, at your own risk, yes.
Oh, God.
Steve, I'm hoping this is leading up to the rescued meerkat leaping into the scene and saving the party at a dramatic moment. I doubt that won't happen.
I'm definitely hoping that this is going to be sort of plucky sidekick in a kind of 80s kids cartoon sort of way.
That definitely fits with the vibe
Yeah, like
of
he's
Symbaroum, and not at all that the meerkat will get stuck into the first combat and be cut down with a soul-wrenching meow.
In my head, I'm picturing a kind of a hairless Snarf from Thundercats.
Sure. let's go for that vibe. Yeah.
When the elf said about it, like, yeah, she needed that meerkat. You have to take it with you to Davakar. I honestly thought we were gonna have to like sacrifice it or something like
Sure.
that.
That would be much more of a Symbaroum vibe, yeah. Hey, maybe the tuber is poisonous. You don't know. Next.
I think we're overriding that if it is in the book, in fairness.
I think Matt's the GM, Chris.
Yeah, but I also know that Matt will not caution being mean to.
It would be very unlikely for me to do so, yeah.
No kitten poisoning. Okay.
Next, please.
We've got on the subject of elf pranks.
You've been elfed. 42. Goddamn Elfton Cutcher. Okay. Yep. I read out puns under duress. You realise that. Hot beef trauma. The tuber is the size of a small chihuahua. A very small chihuahua.
A small chihuahua.
About the size of a mushroom.
A very small dog, or a medium-sized dog's poo.
No, I'm not going to go into that.
Speaking of poo, how much is like partially digested tuber worth?
It's a good question.
Is there any market for what's it called? Is it Kopi Luau? The coffee that is.
I know where you're going with this. The weasel coffee or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very expensive type of coffee in the real world. That is made out of coffee beans that have been eaten and partially digested and pooped out by a very specific type of weasel, and they're really, really expensive because it's really, really good coffee, apparently. So what I'm saying is, can we get some sort of meerkat tuber rattle?
This is hitting
artisan tuber.
After
coffee.
The highs of the our hazelnut yogurt era, this is a shocking low.
Kais is doing a lot of work there, Matt.
I think this discussion of weasel shit coffee, this is our Game of Thrones season 8. Which of course implies that we were already on a long downward spiral, but this is the real nadir.
I think we just ran out of material about halfway through, made up as we went along.
And just started making up stuff about weasel shit coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we got more? Steve, this is where you find out you should have bought a more expensive leash. Sure. Charlie Octogirl, I've missed a few weeks and clearly missed some key events. Nah, just Anton being hoofed in the groin by a goblin. That's the only thing that mattered.
And
it was just that repeatedly for a number of weeks.
It certainly felt that way. Yeah,
like an old outplayed Family Guy joke, just a punching for about 2 minutes straight. Yeah.
It's just the image of the. Oh no, I'm not going back there. We did it last week. You missed it.
Watch
you're lucky.
the VOD if you dare. It was not our finest moment.
Far from it. 42. Two Pomeranians tied together. I think it's more like two Jack Russells tied together. That's what I'd estimate the meerkat size to be. There we go.
So are all Jack Russells related to actual Jack Russell, or is it just...
Yes.
They all belong to Jack Russell, who...
Yeah.
Isn't he the guy out of 24?
That's Jack Bauer, isn't it?
That was close.
42, give the cat a name. I don't know. Don't start getting attached.
Yeah, when it survives a
Um,
fight, we'll give it a name. Until then, gotta earn it.
Yeah. Only when the course of the dice rolling has caused it to accidentally bite Antom in the groin. Will we name the cat? We got any? You're on mute, John, by the way.
I think Aaron's already named it. I think it's too late.
Okay. So we got anything else?
Just Steve pointing out.
Oh dear.
Okay, Steve pointing out the coffee poop origins.
Oh, it's
And
civet
then-
cats, not weasels.
Sure.
Weasels are pretty small. Weasels are like that big.
No.
Yeah, they are.
Weasels are big.
sorry,
No,
can
weasels
you-
are like
can you-
parrots.
Can you explain that size in relation to the size of other animals? Because
A weasel is like two very small weasels strapped together. Weasels are tiny, aren't they?
Are bad guys in the Red Wall series, which means they're big because they're the same size, if not bigger, than rats.
I just googled weasels, and I'm right.
I mean, surely
They're
there are
really
different
small.
types of
Absolutely not. I'm googling weasels right
All
now.
right.
You must. You're
Go
just on
for
some
it.
weird.
They're
internet.
really small.
No, that's like otter size. They're
How
mustelids,
big
aren't they?
is a weasel?
I literally am looking at a picture of a weasel playing with a human hand and being like, yeah, there's a picture of a weasel here.
No.
It's the same size as a
No.
guy's mouse.
I
They're
know
really
that-
small.
I know we don't understand actual measurements that aren't just animals, but
No.
weasels vary in length from 173 to 217 millimeters.
Yeah,
Millimeters.
yeah. So like 20 centimeters.
Yeah, because
But was that the maximum?
That's I don't know, it just
Yeah.
says they vary in length 173 to 217 millimeters.
So that's like 8
17
inches.
to- I guess that's the
They
are.
bone size.
It'd still get kicked in by an otter, wouldn't it?
What's
Oh,
20?
yeah, they're tiny.
yeah,
I
that's right,
thought
Matt. That is 8 inches.
That's what I've always said.
Oh no.
I've just done the research on Google image search, and I can confirm they are not in fact tiny. They are in fact small with an O.
All right,
Um,
whatever. The point is, we were talking about them like they were ferrets or something. And they are smaller than that.
They're
I
a
remain
useful-
partially
They
right.
were.
The
They're a-
best kind of right.
They're useful as a good small unit of measurement for us, I think. When things are just too small to be dogs or lambs, we can now say how many weasels there are.
Sure.
If you've made it this far in the YouTube VODs, please maybe consider reevaluating how you spend your free
Please
time.
consider turning the stream off. I know I am. So
Please consider sending us videos of your weasels.
Sure. On that note, and the comment "Fluffykins groin biter," I think that we definitely have to move on from this discussion. And yeah, so thanks everyone. Thanks to my lovely players. Thanks to everyone for watching and participating. And we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Probably. Goodbye.